Man, we got another episode of Thoughts from a Balcony. And this is one I've been waiting for, bro. Waiting for a creative to come on, an artist to come on and really talk about their process, their creative juices that they have flowing, and how they tap into that. But today, I have on my boy, Nick Yanosko. We've been friends for a long time, man. We've known each other since like little kids, for real.
Yeah, riding the bus together.
Yeah, bro, that's right. Forgot about that. Long time ago. But Nick, man, so tell me what you got going on. You making any music right now? I know you just mixed and mastered the intro. So hopefully when I got this up, I got the intro with it as well. But appreciate you for that. It sounded great. But you got any music yourself that you working on right now?
Yeah, I've been currently working on playing bass on a friend of mine's record, Matt Sycon. We're in the middle of rehearsing for that and should be recording around April. And then I'm also working on a project of my own, getting a band together that I'm going to be calling Home Opener. And that should be cool. That's just like all my original songwriting and getting a band together and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it should be exciting. It's like the first thing I've done where I've been like the exclusive songwriter since like 6 years ago when I had a band called The Natives, which was like my first band ever in high school. And I'm very excited to like put like my own compositions and be in like full creative control of a group for the first time in a while.
That's pretty cool, man. No, that's exciting. And you've been doing this for a long time because I remember you were like, we were probably in sixth grade and you were like playing guitar and you were singing and doing that type of stuff. So have you been doing it, since that long, or was it even earlier that you started?
Yeah, like my family, my mom, my dad, and my sister are all theater kids. So they're all singers. They're all great singers and great actors and stuff like that. I never had the gusto to put myself on a stage like that and act or anything like that. I actually like fear it quite a bit. But I've been doing it since literally sixth grade. I got my first guitar, and my Uncle Bill was a very prominent fixture in the Cleveland music scene. He had a band called Rebels Without Applause, and he picked me up under his wing and just taught me everything that I pretty much know about writing and learning songs and using my ears and all that kind of stuff. So since I was about 11 years old, I've been playing.
That's awesome, man. And the songwriting process for you. So let's just say you want to make a song for your new album. Like, take me from start to finish. Is this something that like pops in your head? You're just sleeping and you're like, bro, those are some sick lyrics. I got to write those down. Or is it like, I need to sit down and really put thought into the song and write out the lyrics?
Typically for me, I write music first. So I'll either start with, I like, at least like what it's come to now, my process is like I'll start with like a drum loop or some drum sample to play along with, and I'll start strumming chords, or I'll sit on my acoustic guitar and start strumming chords, and eventually I'll come to a chord progression that I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And usually by the time I finish a chord progression, I have a melody in my head that I'm humming along with it. And then I'll start recording. I usually do everything what we call in the box, which is like on a computer and recording it as I go. And we I'll sit down and start recording, and by the time I'm recording the guitars, I have like some drums going. I'll be working the bass. I might have some lyrics in mind already that I'm working on, and it kind of all happens very fluidly for me. And I can't really ever force it. It's definitely one of those things that's just like, it has to be spontaneous. It has to be in the moment. It has to, like, I can never like be like, I'm gonna sit down and write a song today.
Yeah.
Because if I do that, it's gonna be trash. But like if I do like sit down and start playing guitar and something comes into my head and I feel inspired by it, then things just like, it's like one after another. It's like I almost am chasing after it versus me controlling it.
Yeah. It's almost like you're tapping into that flow state as you're playing guitar, because you've been playing for so long. You're so fluid with it. It's almost like that thing in your brain starts to get activated as you're going into this flow state and you're moving, and then everything starts to come together, which is really cool, man. And I've heard a bunch of your songs. Obviously you did the intro and everything, and I love it. And it's cool to hear like that flow with it. I think that's missing a lot in today's music that you hear, especially like with the rap and I sound like an old guy right now, but I feel like it's very in your face, super hardcore, heavy bass lines, like just nonstop, and there's no more flow to it. And that's kind of a blanketed statement, but I think what's popular isn't a lot of flow to it, which is cool to see a lot of people bringing that back and more of a melody and rhythm with it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like another thing I like to utilize a lot in my music is dynamics,
Mm.
which is just like the difference in volumes and difference in like largeness of sounds and stuff like that. And with my work with like Xavier, which is his moniker is Mad Marb, and a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, and we do a lot of working together, and a lot of the music that we make on the spot. Like I do sometimes make beats beforehand for him, but I
Mm.
find it's best that I make the beat in front of him, and then as I'm making the beat, he usually like I know it's good when he's on his notes app and he's already writing. And I'm not even done with the beat yet. I'm just like, okay, sick. Like this is, I'm on the right track here. And yeah, it's definitely a flow state, and it's like you have to like lock into that like mutually inspired mentality where you're like both just like, okay, this is sick, yeah, I can do this, I can work with this, and like yeah, like oh maybe we should add this, and then we could do that, and then you should do this, and you should do that. And I like really fell in love over like the past like 4 or 5 years or so with producing,
Mm.
because for the longest time I was just playing in bands and doing stuff like that. But I fell in love with recording, and like obviously like doing the intro for you, like you know that like I mix and master like all my own stuff, and I always like try to keep my hands on everything that I do and control that kind of stuff, because like I do normally when I do hit that flow state, I have a very clear vision,
Mm.
which is like one of the best feelings in the world to like lock into. And like you just know it's just like, all right, this is sick. I like this, and like I don't care really like what anyone thinks because this is sick. I love this.
Yeah, that's all that matters, bro. And as long as you can be proud of your work, I think that's really the main component to making good art. Um, but I love what you said about being able to have your hands in the entire process. And I think nowadays what's so cool is you don't have to like record under a label or do all this stuff. You can be completely independent and do your own thing and, you know, put it out on YouTube, put it out on SoundCloud, whatever you want to do. You have the complete control of what you are putting out there to the world. It's not someone else telling you like you need to make this type of music or like I need to make it based off of, you know, what's hot right now. Like you're like fuck that. I can do whatever I want cuz we have all these avenues and all these people that like different types of music and it doesn't matter. There's always going to be someone out there who likes it. But if you can't say to yourself like, "Oh shit, that was cool. What I just made was cool." If you can't say that, that kind of sucks, man. What are you even doing it for, you know?
Yeah, that's what's important to me. It's
Yeah.
just like if I'm like stoked on it, like that's literally the feel. It's why I do it. You know, it's just like I do music because I love it,
Exactly.
and like if I'm not loving what I'm doing, then why am I doing it? And a lot of the times, like I'll stop, like you know, I'll get halfway through a song, and I'll be like, "Ah, this is trash," and I'll throw it out, and I'll be fine with that. And it's just like I learn something from that every single time. It's just like, okay, well, I didn't like this because of this, and like I figured out that like I can do this differently, and then I apply all that knowledge to the next thing that I do, and it's just a really fun learning process like going through it. And I always like I preach this. You can ask any of my friends that I'm in the music scene. Like I always preach, everyone should know how to record themselves. I think it's a absolutely inexpendable tool
Mm.
for any musician to be able to just like record a demo. It doesn't even have to necessarily be a finished product. Like me personally, like I love reaching that start to finish thing, but like for anyone to be able to express themselves in any way to another musician, it's a fucking inexpendable tool to be able to just like sit down and write your stuff, get your ideas out, maybe lay down like a bass line that you want, like you heard in your head that you want your bass player to play, or you like you lay down a guitar part that you really want a guitar player to play when you get a band together, and you can really be like, instead of being like, oh, I want you to like bow chicka bow wow wow,
Yeah.
you can be like, no, this is the part I want you to like listen to this demo, and like I want you to try and emulate this to the best of your ability. And I found that to be another inexpendable tool, even that like to not like not even like in the sense of putting it out, but just expressing ideas to other people that you want to work with.
That's huge too, especially when you're in a band. You need to communicate these ideas, especially when you're the producer, right? Like if you're unable to communicate what you're looking for, they're never going to be able to emulate that exact sound that you're looking for. And then that leads to frustration, and then the group starts to, I feel like that's what's going to happen eventually if that communication isn't there.
No, for sure. And like I found like one of the hardest things to communicate, or one of the hardest people to communicate with in a band, is the drummer. Cuz sometimes like you can beatbox something to them, but they're still going to look at you with like a confused look and be like, "Man, I don't know what you mean." And it's just like, "Yeah, well, and like being able to actually like program like a drum beat and be like, this is the drum beat that I want, and or like something similar to this, like play this, because I'm in like I said, I'm doing like that project with Matt right now, and we've run into a few of those situations where it's like we're playing other people's songs and being like, like this drum beat, but like it's to a completely different song,
Mm.
and it's kind of hard to get that communication across. And it's just like, yeah, like I said, it's just like a really really powerful tool to be able to put it all down, have something tangible to show someone, and be like, this is the idea. And like I said, like I do really like, I'm not like a complete control freak, but I do like having that control of being able to like accurately communicate something to someone
Mm.
and have them understand that like this is what I want, and they can be like, okay, I have something to hear, I have something to reference. And I think that's huge.
Mm.
And I like I said, I think every musician should be able to do it, or at least to some capacity be able to do it.
That makes sense. No, that makes sense. Um, I think artists are seen in a different light than maybe an athlete or someone else in another field. But I think there are a lot of overlaps. And one I wanted to ask you about, and I was always curious about this, is failure, right? Like I feel like a lot of athletes or even like business people, whatever, there are certain points in the process where they feel like, damn it, I failed. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is a failure. I got to overcome whatever. Is there any time in your process where you're like dealing with that emotion and feeling that type of failure or disappointment? Or is it always like very creative and just like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm just making it flow?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely like deal with failure a lot. I have more uncompleted projects on my computer than I
Mm.
do completed ones. Like there's so many situations where I'll sit down and I'll spend 2 3 hours making something, and then I'm just like trying to figure out how to get it to that finish line point, and you're really trying to cross that finish line, and it's like almost like that thought in itself of just trying to cross the finish line is almost detrimental to the process,
Mm.
where you're just like, oh yeah, like I started this, I gotta finish it, right? And it's like, no, you don't. Like it's okay to set something down and come back to it, or like, and that's happened too. Is like where I've not finished something, I've been like, oh, this is trash, I'm not gonna finish this, and then like a year later, I'll find some weirdly named demo on my computer, and I'll be like, what was this? And I'll pull it up and be like, oh, this was sick. And then I'll finish it on that spot. And sometimes
Mm.
it takes that like setting it down and coming back to it kind of thing. And like in a sense that's not necessarily a failure, but yeah, like it's a lot of that. It's a lot of working through like it's problem solving,
Mm.
especially like with songwriting. It's a lot of problem solving because you have to figure out how to get from point A to point B, and a lot of times that can be a very convoluted route, especially when you start getting into non-traditional chords and like different like I don't know, like different like nuance and stuff like that with rhythm, tempo changes, key changes, and stuff like that.
Mm.
Like really trying to get yourself back to the root of the song. It's like it can be very very convoluted, and you can lose yourself in it, and it can be very frustrating, and sometimes you really do need to like take a step back. And it's like very much so, like I know like you train a lot, Like I know like you can bust your ass every single day and work out, but like if you don't give your muscles that time to heal,
Yes. Yes.
you're not really building anything, are you?
Mm-hmm.
And like if you need to take a step away, you need to take a step away. You know, that's a huge part of the process.
No, that makes sense. It's almost like you have to take care of your brain to be creative and do these things that you want to do. Because if you just hammer it, hammer it, hammer it, it's almost like you're looking in this black hole and you can't see anything else around you. That's kind of how I would feel. Like if I got into a mode of like I'm always training constantly, it was almost like I was so one sided and so closed in. There were other things in my life that would start to derail and start to fall apart. And then while that's happening, I'm also losing interest in the training and not liking the training enough. So I think that's an important piece. And especially like in American society, I feel like obsession is so glorified.
Oh yeah, instant gratification I call it.
Yeah.
And it's
Instant
just like,
gratification for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like everyone wants that like instant like I need that result. I want that
Yeah.
result so badly and like no one ever like everyone or like that it's like that old saying. It's like it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Yes.
And I feel like everyone's so focused on the destination a lot of times, especially in American culture. And it's like it can be distracting. It can be distracting from getting there the whole time if you're thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna finish this song, I'm gonna like I'm gonna get my lats built out and
Yeah.
like anything like that. Like you can like separate yourself from like the actual activity that you're doing in the moment to get to that point, and that can be very detrimental. And like I'm guilty of it. I think everyone's
Oh,
guilty
yeah.
of it.
Yeah. No, I don't think any of us are perfect human beings. Um, but it is tough because you want it so bad, and like with songwriting, right? Like I want to finish this song so bad. I want it to make this fucking hit, dude. I want the bass lines to be crazy. I want the chorus to sound beautiful. Like you want it to be perfect in your mind of what it's actually going to sound like. But if you constantly, like if you're up 12 hours a day constantly working on that song, you might end up with something you're like, dude, this fucking sucks.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's very
yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah, dude. I totally get that, man. And like obsession, part of me, I struggle with this a lot because part of me understands like how much work. It's almost like the 10,000 hours rule, right? Like it's, if you just
Hmm.
put that amount of work in, you're going to get there. But you also have to realize like there's so much more to life and so much more balance to life. And especially as an artist who gains inspiration from like going out and just hanging out with friends or like going to do stuff
Oh yeah.
like out in nature, whatever that is. If you're constantly like you're just in the studio nonstop, you're not going to get that inspiration.
Yeah, you got nothing to write about.
Yeah.
And like I actually had a good friend of mine. I was playing in his band for a while. He said one of the most profound things I've ever heard, where he's in the middle of writing his third record that I'm gonna play on as well. The project's called Ohio Civil Power, and he like he said something to me that I've just like thought was like the coolest thing anyone could ever say for some reason. And he was saying like, "Oh, I've got like most of this album written." He's like, "I'm going to work out some of these songs." And he's like, "I figured by the time I finish these songs that I'm working on right now, I'll have lived enough life to write the next few songs." And I was just like, "Damn. That's so true."
Mm.
Because we really do like, I mean, especially in like the world of creativity and art, like you do gotta live life in order to have something to say and to have something to go off of. And that's huge. Like if you do just like sit around and do nothing but play music, like how are you gonna write a song about writing a song? You can. Willie Nelson did it,
Yeah.
but like
He smoked a lot of weed though too, so
yeah,
maybe he was
for
another
sure.
dimension. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's also too like it's that top of the mountain peak, like whether that's creating a song or whether that's like achieving a dream, right? Like oh, I'm playing it the Agora, or like I get to play at Playhouse Square or whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever that dream is, you get there and then it's like, fuck, what next? Like I just spent my entire life trying to get to this point and I got there, and now I realize like I'm not as happy as I thought I would be. Like you get in that moment, you're like, this is really cool. I love this. But afterwards, you're kind of left with this like sunken feeling. And I think it's important to always be focused on that process rather than like that end goal of finishing a song or, getting that, for me, right? Like finishing college or like going and getting my college scholarship to play football. Like that, I struggled with that a lot. Is like, this was the top of my mountain peak. Like, what the fuck do I do now?
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
weird.
For
Yeah.
sure. No, definitely. And like it's almost like more fun for me to like be in the process of getting there than
Yes.
it is to actually be there. Because like you said, like I was in a band that was pretty successful, Oregon Space Trail of Doom, for I mean, we worked for 4 or 5 years, and like you were saying earlier, like people who can do things individually, we were an entirely self-sufficient operation. We had an in-house artist. I was recording everything that wasn't our direct albums. We had like a side project like Oregon Space Trail of Jazz. I recorded and mixed and mastered all of those songs, and we were just like doing everything in house. The guitar player Ryan is a phenomenal videographer. He was doing music videos for us. He was filming and editing live videos for us. We did a benefit for the Winchester and the Happy Dog during COVID that I did all the audio for, and he did all the video editing for. We did have other videographers on site to film that, and it was just like really beautiful to be part of. Like it was like a company,
Yeah.
and like that stuff was like really cool, and like working and doing those things was a lot cooler than putting them out, because by the time you put them out, you're like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And that's the best mentality you can have, instead of being like, not like what do we do now, it's like, no, what's next? Like that was sick, that was cool, now what can we do else that's cooler, or what can we do else that's like going to benefit us in this momentum that we've accrued from being as creative as we can in all facets of it. And yeah, it's just like being able to recognize that creating is almost the mountaintop,
Mm.
and being there, like, and being a part of like the action is like, at least for me, it's like it's what I seek. I seek to be a part of the process, because I know like right now I'm having the most fun on this album I'm working on, rehearsing and just helping Matt arrange parts and coming together and getting everything together and fleshing out these songs that I know by the time we sit down and record them, that I'm gonna have a whole bunch of fun recording it. But at that point, like when he puts it out, it'll be like I'll have had all my fun,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And like I'll have this beautiful thing to sit back and listen to and look
Right.
at and be like, I did that.
Yeah.
And that's great, and that's to be appreciated, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But like for me, like the process of doing all that stuff is just like, is so fun and so fulfilling and so distracting that you almost don't realize you're doing it. And like it's just so exciting. And like when you get in a room with people and you're all on the same page and you're all just flowing together, it's really like a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's another thing that like I was saying with like making music with Zave, like just being in the room, making the beat with him, having him write the lyrics on the spot. By the time I'm done with the beat, he's ready to go. So like I don't even have to worry about sitting around and waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just finished the beat. He's just like, all right, cool, I got a verse. It's like, sweet, let's lay that down. And then by the time that's happening, I'm like doing all like the little like intricate stuff around it, making cuts around lines and making different things pop out about him. And like another thing that I really love is like I hate being a front man. I'm only a front man because I have a vision,
Mm.
and I have a vision of like what I want to do. But I really like backing people up and seeing other people's visions come to be. That's why I like playing bass.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, you like hold it down. It's like I've always envisioned bass and the drums as like that's that constant rhythm that you're always having, and then the guy on the guitar, the front man, is just going fucking crazy. He's doing his thing, but no matter what happens, no matter what he's doing on that creative strings, right? Like he can look back at you guys and know like, oh, they got me. Like I'm good.
Oh yeah, we call it the pocket.
Okay.
Being in the pocket.
Very cool. Very cool. I love that, man. You touched on a couple things. One I want to talk about is going back to that flow state, and something I've been like trying to implement more in my own life is like accepting the flow of life and almost almost getting lost in what I'm doing instead of like constantly thinking about where I'm not or what happened in the past or what's going to happen in the future. Like I am just full acceptance of right now in this process. And that kind of ties into what you were saying too with like working with other people. When you accept that flow of life, you're so tuned in to those other people. And I feel like that's how you create beautiful art or just like connecting with another human being, which I think is another beautiful part of this human experience. But you're not going to get that if you're constantly like your brain is somewhere other than where you are.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's like it's definitely about being in the room with the person too. And really like seeing them like get excited too gets you excited, and you can kind of like go off of that momentum with each other where you're like, "Oh, this is great." Like, and when you're both recognize like this is great, like you can kind of like it's like a ramp
Mm-hmm.
and like a snowball effect where it's just like you just get on top of each other and you're just like, okay, we could do this and we could do that and like all this kind of stuff, and really getting it together, and losing my train of thought. Um, really like just like being on the same page, and it's like almost like for me like when you're in that room with the music and you're both like vibing with that song, it like really connects two people together in
Mm-hmm.
a way that like you wouldn't necessarily have in like a hang or a conversation. It's very like tacit. It's very like nonverbal, and you're both just like kind of nodding your head, like one person's pacing around the room, I'm at the mixer doing my thing, maybe playing chords or whatever, adding a synth line or whatever, and I'm just like nodding my head, look over my shoulder, I see Zave nodding his head, he's typing in his notes app, and it's just like it's encouraging. It's in like that mutual encouragement of each other is just like, man, it's like you can't be stopped in that moment. It's like really powerful, and like I chase that feeling. I chase that
Yeah.
feeling of just like that mutual encouragement, that just mutual inspiration of having like, and when you can do that with a full band, like you can do that with 4 people, 5 people, 8 people, and like you can get them all in a room and everyone's just on the same page. You're just like, wow, I didn't know you could do this. Like the first time I ever played music was also the first time I ever smoked weed and played music at the
Mm.
same time. It was with Joey Shannon,
Okay.
and I went over his house in high school, like freshman year, and I played bass. It was like also the first time I ever played bass in a band. It was a lot of firsts for me that day, and I just remember like we played "My Generation" by the Who, and I had to learn that bass solo, but I just like remember being so scared of it, but like we smoked and I just like, relaxed, and we just like got together and played, and I was just like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Like this is so cool. This is so cool feeling like feeling the vibrations of everything, cuz like my parents, like I wanted to play drums,
Mm-hmm.
and my parents were like, absolutely not. Like we are not having that kind of
Oh,
noise in our
I
house.
don't
You can
blame
have
you.
a
Yeah.
guitar. Yeah. And I
Yep.
was just like, damn it. And I'm not a bad drummer. I'm not a good drummer, but I still like steal people's drumsticks and play their kits every once in a while. But yeah, just like first like getting in that room with like a kick drum, like a real fucking kick drum is just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh man, it's a powerful feeling. And like just like having, yeah, even like 2 people, 3 people just like synchronize is just like, wow, we could do this. Like I'm still amazed by it to this day, and I've been doing it for 12 years.
Yeah. You know, it's also outside the band too,
14
because
years.
as a damn 14 years.
Yeah, 14 years I've been playing music.
That's a crazy. Yeah, it's a long time, man. But going back to this, like, it's more than just the band too. Like, it's the people listening is the people in the crowd. Like, do you remember when you played in that basement in OU? Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, dude. I remember seeing you being the tallest person in the crowd, and like I was just astonished to see. I was sweating my
It was
balls
so
off.
hot down
It was
there.
so hot. We actually we got can't. We were supposed to play outside,
Mm.
and it rained, and we got rained out. And someone, because Athens is just a beautiful community, of just people who are so supportive of the arts. Someone was just like, "Well, if you guys can't play here, come play my house." And we moved the whole thing to the person's house, and the whole my buddy that is my connect was my connect down in Athens was Emmett Masha, and that dude can put an event together. Like I still to this day think he should be putting shows together, but he he just like has this way of bringing people together for these events, and getting people to show up and getting people excited. He's in this great band called Peach Fuzz now, and he would just put together these events in Athens, and I would come down, and it's just like so funny because a lot of the times when you play out of town, you're playing for like 5, 6 people, and like going down to Athens, it was like I'm playing for at least 75 people every single time because Emmett knows all these people. And I remember seeing you down there, and I played with two bands that night. I played with both Mars Dog and Oregon Space Hero of Doom.
Oh, that's right. It was Mars Dog who we saw. Because it was Joey Shannon was on the drums.
Yeah, Joey
right?
Shannon playing drums, Trevor
Yeah.
Carmichael playing guitar.
Yeah, dude, you guys rocked it. That was so cool, man. I remember it because I didn't even know you guys were down there, but we were at another party and someone was like, "Oh yeah, someone's playing music," and then I think someone said like Trevor Carmichael or some like I heard one of your guys' names. I'm like, no way, we gotta go there. So I went down to the basement. And you had that basement rocking, dude. It was hot as hell in there. I think Paige was doing artwork while you guys were playing. I know
Yeah,
she's
she
done
did a
that
lot of
before.
live painting. Yeah,
Yeah, that was cool, man. That was a good time.
yeah, that was a great time. I like those are some of my fondest memories. Were some of the Athens shows I played down there like 5 or 6 times, and they were always just a party and just like an absolute event, and everyone is just like so engulfed in just the moment.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, like I just like that. That's such a great town, such a great town. I know it's known as like a party school and stuff like that, but like the people, even the townies there, man, are great. Great bar down there, Smiling Skull. Played there a couple times, and you just meet some like locals, and they're just like, man, we just like love to hear music, and like we're always down here like hanging out with the college kids and stuff like that. I'm like, that's great, man. I almost moved down to Athens. I didn't even go to college. I just like almost went down there just to hang out, but I would have lost myself down there.
Yeah, that was. I remember going down there, and every time I came back, I'm like, "Yep, I just lost about 2 years off my life." That was pretty crazy. Good times, though, man. Good times.
Oh man, I did some very irresponsible things in Athens.
I feel like it's a requirement, though. You go down to Athens, you go to OU, you got to act a little uncivilized. It's just a part of it,
Oh,
man.
for sure, especially if you go down for like Halloween or something stupid
Oh, my
like
God.
that. Like it's just
The
like
fest. I think you played during a fest. I think that's why I saw you.
I think it was Millfest.
Yeah.
I think it was Millfest or something like that. It was going on, and we were like just some like little like underdog side stage kind of hanging. But yeah, I've always had fun just wandering around. I mean, the first time I ever went down to Athens, Zave and I just like we were hanging out with all of our buddies, and we were like, we just loaded a backpack full of beer and just walked around until we found a party, and we just started party hopping and just like partying with strangers. And like I love meeting strangers, and I love talking to like random people. It's one of my favorite parts about touring is just like you sitting at a bar waiting for the show to start, and you see some old dude who's been sitting at the same bar in Indiana for the past 20 years, and he's got stories. I'll tell you what, that dude's got stories, and you're going to want to talk to that guy. He may seem a little weird at first, but you break the ice a little bit with him, make him laugh, and then he'll tell you some stuff, and it's great.
I feel like, I don't know, man. I always say this. The best people to have conversations with or best people to hang out with are always a little weird. Like you have to have a
Yeah.
little bit of weirdness in you to even be cool. Like you can't just be some square.
No, dude, it's boring as hell.
Yeah.
Like if you're not like a little off center, like I don't know, it's like what are you doing? Like people who like take risks and say outlandish things and have outlandish views. It's just like it gives you a different perspective. It gives you a hugely different perspective on life, and I love that. Cuz like like I said, like you can just like meet some dude who's been in Wichita, Kansas for like his entire life, and he'll tell you some crazy stories about how Welling Jennings used to play pinball at this bar down the street. And like you would have never heard that story if you wouldn't have gone up and talked to that dude. And like it's great.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun hearing, stories from other people and so many different experiences, man. Like that's what makes the human experience so fun is we have so many people to share it with. And that's why I do this podcast for real. Is like getting to sit down and hear people's experiences, their life stories and like understand why they are the way they are is really fucking cool to me cuz it's like we're all these like beautiful creatures of just creativity and love and experience and it's like I want to sap that energy out of you and like bring it out to the world and even if it's just like shared between me and you, that's perfect. Like if one person listened to it, great. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even care who listens to it. Like as long as this right now is being sparked, I think that's fucking cool, man. That's why I do this shit.
Yeah. No, it was great. I was stoked to hear you started doing this stuff because you've always had a very interesting perspective on things. I've always enjoyed having conversations with you out and stuff like that. Running into you and Todd at like the Happy Dog and stuff like that.
Todd's
He's
a
out in
great dude.
Colorado now, ain't he?
Yeah, Todd's doing well out in Colorado, man. He growing his hair out. He's playing in a band now too, man. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah,
He's a
I
great
just saw
drummer.
a little video of him playing. I know Trevor was playing a little bit with him when he
Yeah.
was still out here and stuff like that. I never made it over there to hang out with them, but that's great. I was stoked to hear that he was playing drums because I always just knew him as just like an athlete, and
Yeah.
I was just like I always like love to find out when people play music that I don't expect to play music.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like that's great. Like you should be playing music. And like I think everyone should like. I mean, I think everyone has an appreciation for music in some way, shape, or form. I mean, everything has a soundtrack. You can't watch a movie without music. You can't watch a commercial without music. You
Yep.
can't. Yeah, it's just it's all very. I mean, even life just has a rhythm. You hear a train go by. I mean, we were having a conversation at a rehearsal the other day, like how the train is probably one of the most pivotal things in American music, especially with like country and stuff like that. And like, it's just like there's like so many things in life that aren't inherently musical that are musical. And I think that's like really cool to recognize those things. Like there's been a few situations at jobs where like I've heard a weird sound coming from like a drip in like a faucet and I'll like voice memo and sample it.
That's awesome, dude. No, that makes sense. I think it was Aerosmith, man. And I could be wrong, but I think it was Aerosmith.
The sugar packet?
Yes, you
Yeah.
know the story.
Yeah, Steven Tyler with the sugar packet. They forgot
Yes.
the maracas.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
See, like you can make music out of anything. And I've always been so fascinated with music. Obviously loved it for really my entire life. But it's also like it has this profound feeling inside your body when you hear it. Like it elicits this profound feeling that I can't really pinpoint. Like when you hear a good song or hear something that you haven't heard in a while and you know all the words to it, like that feeling, I feel like I've never captured that in anything else I've done, whether that's like winning a football game or like, whatever it is. I don't think I've ever felt that feeling when, like you mentioned it earlier, like that head nod when you're all just like, oh, you going in
Yeah.
on a song. Like, that is so cool to me.
No, yeah, it's great. It's like I really appreciate the things in life that are nonverbal between people because like it's not as rare as you think it is that people like can connect without words. I work in construction, so I work with a lot of Mexican people, and I was just working on a fireboard up in Willoughby. There was a giant apartment complex fire this past weekend.
I saw that over at Chagrin River.
Yeah, and
Wow.
I did the board up for that, and I was working with people who didn't speak a lick of English, and like you can still communicate with each other and still work together and still do things very efficiently and very well without having language and without having that like air of communication. And that translates into a lot of other things, even with people who speak mutual language, like with music and stuff like that, and training and like there's a lot of things like even like on a football field. Like I mean I see it all the time with I love watching football, and I can only imagine the lack of communication people have in the NFL with like all that noise that's going
Oh
on.
my God, yeah. Yeah, I remember we used to, like, back in high school when I think it was like, well, maybe it was sophomore, junior, and senior year. But we used to, like, when we got ready for the playoffs and it'd be like a big game, we would play over the loudspeakers, like, the same song over and over and over again, or like crowd noise, just to like, get us in that mode of having to communicate like non-verbally, like, using like finger cues or, just slapping like someone on the side of the hip, like, yo, you need to slide over, like whatever that is. Because you're right. Sometimes, especially with mouthpieces too, like you could hear somebody say something and it's just like, what the fuck did that person just say?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
just jarbled nonsense. But if it's a tap or some type of head movement or like a hand signal or something like that, yeah, it made it a lot easier. Definitely did. So hey man, I want to go back to your music process and like inspiration. So obviously, like you get inspiration from artists and stuff like that, and I want to get into that too. But outside of actual music, like where do you think you get most of your inspiration from to write songs and make music? Like, is it like heartbreak? Is it going and having conversations with those people in Indiana? Like, what specifically do you think really contributes to that?
a lot of my stuff that I write about is personal experience,
Hmm.
and it's just like different things that I've gone through, and different things that I have had with relationships. Definitely are a huge part of what I write about, and just like general philosophy too. I like just like write about my state of mind, and like what I like to say is like I like to create a mood, and I like to create an atmosphere with my music, and I like to put people in a place and trying to get people in a similar mindset of where I'm at, if
Hmm.
like as close as I can. That's my end goal with writing a song, is to get the listener to try and be as close to where I'm at when they're listening to it as I can, and like really like tap into like what I'm experiencing. So like I have a song called "It's Been a Long Time," and it's all about seeing someone like that you used to be hugely infatuated with a long time ago, and you guys actually finally came together, and you guys actually like are running the what if of like that situation. And I try my best to convey that to in a way that like a person can understand and be like, oh yeah, like I know that feeling, like I know what it's like to like separate from someone for 5 or 6 years and come together, or like creating a song about doing something as trivial as like doing drugs or anything like that, and
Hmm.
like having like a friend who was like too far. I had a friend who was like addicted to heroin, and I wrote a song about him being uh really like damaging people around him, and like I know that's something that a lot of people can relate to, having a friend who's just like messing up in their life and damaging things, and like really wanting to help them, but like not being able to help anyone who doesn't want help themselves and stuff like that. And there's a lot of like those situations in life that I try to convey in my music, and I try to make it as relatable as I can while also being very specific to my own personal experience, which is what I like to write about quite a bit.
Hmm. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. I
Hey,
feel like.
real quick, can I take a piss?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right,
We'll
cool.
crop this out. All right, we had to take a piss break, man. It's the worst. It's the worst when you have to pee and you're trying to like communicate a thought, and the only thing you can think about is like, bro, I gotta pee so bad
Yeah,
right now.
I was trying. I was holding on.
No, but anyways, we were talking about inspiration that you got outside, like in your real life, that you put into your songwriting and your chord progressions and all that stuff. Um, so yeah, you were talking about obviously like heartbreak relationships. You're talking about a friend who had the drug issue. So yeah, dude, I think a lot of artists do that, and I think that's what resonates with people, like being real and authentic, and kind of sharing a piece of yourself in your music. I feel like those are always the best songs. You know, the ones that really hit home are the ones that you relate to on such a deeper level. You're like, damn, was this song written for me? Like, I feel like and that's so many like, people, you know what I mean? Like, although we are very different, we come from different backgrounds and we have a different life experience and different paths. There's still so much overlap in terms of like feelings, emotions, circumstances, and yeah, man, I think like a really good artist is able to capture that kind of like you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like it's definitely like something you gotta like tap into if you really want to like write something profound. Um, is something that like you've experienced yourself because I often encounter these songs that like I'm a music first person. I am horrible with like memorizing other people's lyrics and like listening to lyrics. It usually takes me about a third listen of a song to actually like hear all of the lyrics of a song. And I really like just like I always tell people the first thing I ever hear in a song is the drums. And like from there I just like worked my way up from drums to bass to all the chords and stuff like that. And by the time I listen to the lyrics of a lot of these stuff, it's just like I get like a little turned off by music when it's just like cut and paste lyrics of just like, oh, you know, like I had a bad day, you know, like songs like that. And like, I don't know, like Maroon 5, sick music. Maroon 5, badass band. Like they sound great. Adam Levine's lyrics, trash. Absolute trash. But like if you get past that, like it's awesome. Like it's awesome music.
Really, I see. Listen, I will actually give Maroon 5 a second chance because you put me on a Khruangbin. But dude, I'm not gonna lie, I hate Maroon 5.
Early
Like,
Maroon 5. Don't go in once it became like Adam Levine, like listen to like their first two records, they're great. Same with Kings of Leon. Kings of
dude,
Leon, their first two records are
dude,
amazing.
so good. The Sex on Fire record, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That like that whole album, that first song on the album, what is it, like Closer or something like that? Bro, that first song on the album goes so crazy. Yeah.
So good. I can't believe I put you on a Krugman. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, you did.
I've seen them like 7 times.
Bro, they're so. I just saw them for the first time last year. Was it
Was that your first time?
at the Agora? Yeah,
The one that we were at?
did
Did I run into you there?
Yeah, I don't know if we ran into each other. I remember.
I
I think
ran
we.
into a lot of people there, but I think
I think we
DM'd
texted.
about
Yeah,
it,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, bro. No, Khruangbin's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they sound just the same as the record as they do live, and it's amazing.
Oh my god. Yeah, I love their music. No, I have. The only one I don't have is the dubbed CD. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the one where they do the dub style music.
I love it though. Like I love dub music, like that type of stuff.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, I love when Sublime used to do their dub stuff. I don't know if you've ever listened to any of that.
I like Sublime's punk stuff. Like when they like songs like Eben.
Yes, that's a good one.
That's a good one. But or like Saw Red with Gwen Stefani is another good Sublime song. Don't quote me on liking Sublime, everyone, but I do like Sublime a little bit. Yeah, no, like I love dub music, but I like old dub music too, like Lynn Vol Johnson and stuff like that, and like Bob Marley's great, and
I like Barrington Levy. You ever listen to him? Dude, I'll send you some songs after this. I think you'll fuck with it. It's a lot of dance hall type of music.
Okay, like ska.
Yeah, very ska, but like he has a Jamaican voice. Like it's not like the American ska. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you'll like it a lot. So yeah, dude, I wanted to ask you this question. Like, what's in your playlist right now? What are you bumping lately?
Man, I've been listening to a lot of Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson, that's the motherfucker who played in Blade, right? Wasn't that?
No. He was did he play? Was he in
dude?
Blade?
That was him.
Was he in Blade?
I'm almost positive.
Maybe he's an old country dude.
He was the one who had. He was like Blade's guy. Like he was his right hand man.
Oh man,
he would always create like all the weapons for him and everything. I promise. Go back and look at that movie. I'm pretty sure that's him.
The factor, Chris Christopherson.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Chris Christopherson. He's great. I love Willie Nelson. Um, I listen to like a lot of old country music right now, just because
Interesting.
like the songwriting is like fantastic, and the playing, like I love pedal steel guitar. I love fiddle. Um, just like that chicken picking style of guitar, the bass and like the bass lines and songwriting, like yeah, the lyrics are great. They just tell great stories, and like I think it's like a really big part of American culture that is often overlooked. Cause like I can't get behind like the pop country of today. Like I don't really listen to anything country past like the '70s, and like there's some really good stuff that happened in the '90s. Um,
Mm.
but like I listen to as far back as like the '40s and '50s with country music, and it's really good. And aside from that, I've been listening to this guy Spilly Cave, who's just like this like solo producer. He has this song Minutia that's like he's a phenomenal guitar player, and he's just like a really cool songwriter. And then this rapper Mike, all caps, he's coming in March, and I implore anyone to go to Mahal's and see him. I saw him last year, and he is just like one of the best rappers out there. He's good friends with Earl Sweatshirt. If you like that style of rap, it's very heady, and it's like very like conscious, and like the producing is like really wacky and like not like very atypical. And I think it was his producer. Zay would yell at me for not knowing this.
Has Earl Sweatshirt done stuff with this producer?
He has done
Is
stuff
it
with
The
this producer.
Alchemist?
Not the Alchemist.
I was
No,
gonna say that's pretty cool.
no, the Alchemist is sick. No, this dude's lower key.
Okay.
This dude made he made a beat for Earl Sweatshirt's Feet of Clay record. I don't remember what it was, but it didn't make the cut.
Mm.
There was like a whole bunch of stuff around that. But yeah, like who else I've been listening to? I should probably just open up my Spotify. I'm so bad. Like you'd think I would just have like this encyclopedic knowledge of music, but I actually reference my Spotify more often than not.
That's so funny, dude. I
I
was just
have to have it.
yeah. It's like the one app that I'll pay. Like I don't want Spotify to hear this at all, but I would pay $100 a month for Spotify.
Dude, I hate it because they don't pay their musicians. But I'm so down. You get like per listen, or it's like every 1,000 listens, you get a tenth of a cent. I think.
No way. That's
I
it.
think it might be 100 listens,
Okay.
but you get a tenth of a cent.
Damn.
And yeah, it's really hard to. Blaze Foley. Blaze Foley's fantastic. Chet
Okay.
Baker is a really good old jazz guy. Who else? Harry Nilsson. Harry Nilsson's fantastic. Uh, John Lennon was once asked who his favorite band was, and he said Harry Nilsson is God. And I stand by that fact. And also J.J. Cale, who wrote a bunch of songs that Eric Clapton and Leonard Skinner did, like "Call Me the Breeze," and he has this really beautiful song called "Crazy Mama." And yeah, like really a lot of old American music,
Hmm.
a lot of old American music. I've been like really like honing into like my country stuff, and like my newest project is going to be very like late 50s 60s kind of like inspired singer-songwriter rock and roll, like Bob Dylan, like Rolling Stones, kind of stuff like that, taking homage from people like Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson, and incorporating like a lot of country rhythm and bass, but with like more of like rock and roll style, like chords and lyrics and stuff like that.
Very cool. No, I'm excited for that, man. I think that's not a sound you hear very often anymore. And like you said, it's almost like a lost art, especially with the pop country scene now, like the blossom country. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
Blossom Country. I still remember in high school just like cringing looking at photos of just like girls who just like don't like country music, who would just show up in like Daisy Dukes and like cowboy boots that they would get their dad to buy them for $200 just for the weekend, and they never wear them again. It's just like
it was a scene.
Yeah.
I never went to them, but yeah, no,
never.
I know.
I saw Willie at Blossom.
Oh,
That
really?
was awesome. Yeah, just this past summer. He was great. He's still holding down.
That's crazy, dude. I didn't know he was still playing. I didn't.
He played with ZZ Top. It was sick.
That's crazy.
And Government Mule.
That's pretty cool, man. No, I didn't know that he was even still playing. I didn't even know he was still alive, to be honest.
He was born in 1933.
And he's still playing.
Still playing. 1933.
That's dude. He's 100. No, he's 90 years old.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Actually, you know what? I have another one I saw. You mentioned jazz, so I went to go see the Cleveland Jazz Orchestra the end of January at the Maltz Performing Center. You ever been over there?
I played the Maltz.
Dude, next time you play the Maltz, you gotta let me know because I love that venue.
It was a private, it was a COVID stream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's such a beautiful venue. The architecture is amazing, and just everything was really cool. But it was. You ever heard of Johnny Mathis? He's like, okay.
Yeah.
So it was like all his music, and they did a whole history lesson basically on him from like when he first started writing music to the end of his life. It was really cool. But one of the guys who was singing was 88 years old, dude. Like very Frank Sinatra vibe to him.
Yeah,
and
it had like that vibrato.
Yeah, it was so cool, dude. It was like, man, he's still doing this. And that's something I've always admired about musicians and artists and everything.
Oh yeah, Willie still takes guitar solos.
Yeah, like you can do it forever. Like I can't, you know what I mean? Like my thing was always football. That was always like something I loved, my passion. And you can't do that forever, bro. So it's like,
no, you can't.
As a musician, if I ever have a kid, I'm definitely gonna encourage getting into the arts like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's
you can teach your kid perfect pitch, and I just found out about this.
Okay.
So you can teach like children under the age of 5 perfect pitch. I don't know if this is cruel or not, but I'm doing it to my offspring. Like you can like sit them at a piano and be like, this is an A, this is a C, this is an F sharp, and then like you just keep training them at it, and then eventually someone can play a note for them and they'll be like, that's an F sharp. I can't do that. And like it's like a really cool thing, and you lose it eventually. Like you go deaf with it eventually. But like people, have you ever heard of Jacob Collier? He's like a British, like he's a huge British like kind of like pop artist. But he's just like he just does these crazy arrangements of like these songs, and like with like 12-part harmony with like crazy diminished chords and all this gobbledygook. And he has perfect pitch, and like, or Charlie Puth, if you know Charlie Puth, he has perfect pitch.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen him do like interviews where they'll like hit a side of a coffee mug and he'll tell him what note it is and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've seen him just make a song out of nothing. Like I've seen those videos.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I just like think that would just be like a cool thing to like teach a kid. And they're definitely getting piano lessons. I wish I could play piano. I can, but like not very well. I can just like stab chords, but I'm not like running up and down like Herbie Hancock or nothing like that.
Dude, Herbie, I love his music too. I got his I don't remember the name of the album, but the one with Watermelon Man on it. Headhunters. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, man, that's super cool. We were just talking about, me and Carly were just talking about the piano and how long, like I feel like that's just such a hard instrument to play. How long have you been, I guess, trying to learn, since you say you're not super great at it yet?
Probably like 6 years. I've like sat down with them like a little bit. I've never like had a piano in my house. I have like a little like MIDI controller, like keyboard, which is what I do like all my like synth chords and stuff with that on like my music and stuff like that. And but I like, it's just so like it's a different mistress, but I've heard that it's easier to go from piano to any instrument than it is to go from any instrument to a piano. So I think it would be smart to teach my kids piano first, and then introduce them to a guitar, and then introduce them to a drum kit and a bass and all that sort of stuff. And I'd really like to learn how to play a horn, but I feel like I'm too old for that now.
You think so?
I don't know.
Here's a dude. Anytime anyone says like they're too old for that, one, I don't think that's true. Second, I remember this one professor I had who was old as dirt, and he's like, "Yeah, I just started playing guitar like 10 years ago, and now I play like, these shows just from here and there." But he loved it, bro. So it's like, he was your age, wasn't even thinking about playing guitar, and now he's playing shows. So like, I feel like if you wanted to, you could do it, bro. You're musically gifted. It's like playing guitar, bro. Like when you first started, like you're not going to be good. Like it's going to take you a long time to understand how to move your fingers and like what you're actually listening to.
See, at that point, I was just excited that I
Mm.
had a guitar because I was like a little 11-year-old, and I was just like, I remember I wanted to learn Metallica so bad, and I still can't play like Kirk Hammett. That was like my one goal when I like first wanted to pick up guitar. I was like, I want to be Kirk Hammett, and my uncle was just like, I'm gonna teach you the Beatles. 'Cause that's what I know how to play. And then I just like grew in love with like all that kind of music.
Yeah, dude, I think that was the first band I listened to as a youngin, and I think that's what like sparked my interest in music. Definitely the first band I remember listening to was the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's always a good place to start because I feel like so much of what we listen to today has their inspiration, like it has their sound kind of incorporated into it, even if it's just subconsciously in the
Oh
artist.
yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like there's something in their catalog for everyone. I've completely I've met people in my day, a lot of people in the punk community like to trash the Beatles, and I've proved them wrong with songs like Your Blues and Helter Skelter, and like you're listening to Obla Di Obla Da, and like that song can get annoying. I can understand that, and it's like you need to like actually like hear some of like their deeper cuts and some of their harder music
Yeah.
because like they got something for everyone. They got, I mean, they do a country song, they do an old Buck Owens song. Ringo Starr sings it. What is that? Act Naturally.
Oh,
That's great.
really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah, one of my favorites that's kind of punk is it's off their Help album, Dizzy Miss Lizzy. Do you ever hear that
Yeah.
song?
Oh yeah, I got Help on DVD. You ever seen the movie?
Yeah, I remember watching those movies with my dad. They're so goofy, but they're a lot of fun.
They're
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Hard Day's Night is one of my favorite films.
God, I gotta watch those again, man. You're sparking a lot of like old music and movies now. I gotta watch.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool, bro. You said you were working with Matt Sycon. Was he the frontman for Jividen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love their stuff, dude. I still listen to a lot of that stuff that I was playing like back in high school, like junior, senior year.
Jividen was one of the first like things that I encountered in my life that I was like, not only can you play music, but you can play good music, and like it can be local, and it's not just the people on the CDs or the people on the TV, you know.
Yeah.
It was the first time the fourth wall was broken for me was when I heard them. I played lacrosse with Kyle Frieberchauser, who was their first bass player. And I was like, oh, I play music. And he's like, oh, I play music too. I'm in this band. And they were called Jividen and the Psych Ward at the time. And they were just blew my mind. And then I found his siblings, Jess and Chris, who are both in their own respect. I play in Chris's group, Ohio Civil Power. And I played shows with Jess's group, John's little sister. And they're all just like, dude, they're like robots. They're so good. They're fantastic. They're all amazing singers, amazing songwriters. The Sycon family is fantastic. Glad to be involved with them.
That's cool, man. No, I obviously I dated Marlo, and then her brother was in the band too. So I went to a lot of shows when I was younger. I'm like, dude, it's so weird you say that because I felt the exact same way. It was like one of those first local bands where I'm like, dude, these guys are fucking awesome. And I still played their what was their first album that came out?
Slow Commotion.
The Slow Commotion, dude. Yes, I love that album. It's so good, and it's almost like a dirty rock to it. Like that not perfect sound is what makes it so
They
great.
recorded that all themselves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did that all at a warehouse in 72nd that they were living out of.
I think I remember meeting her brother there for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. It was like huge space, like wide open.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever went there.
Yep.
Okay.
I've been there a few times.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. That's cool, man. No, I'm glad. That's kind of like a full circle moment for you too, man. Now you're like making music with the guy that kind of like changed your perspective on local.
No, for
music,
sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely like somewhere I did not imagine to be when I was that age, but grateful to be here, you know. It's great. I hang out with Matt all the time, good friend of mine. And Steve Kessler is one of the best drummers in Cleveland. He plays in like 8 bands. Can't even name them all, but go see Youth Palette. Uh, yeah, fantastic. He plays in Ohio Civil Power with us too. Matt also plays in Ohio Civil Power with Chris. He plays piano. He's a great piano player now. And yeah, dude, those dudes are great.
That's awesome, man. No, the Cleveland music scene is extremely underrated, and that's a big reason of why I love it in this city. Is the music scene is so cool, bro. Like the Grog Shop, always great shows there. The fucking Agora, obviously, like amazing shows. Beachland Ballroom, bro. I saw the Wailers of Bob Marley and the Wailers at the Beachland Ballroom. One of the best shows I've ever seen. Obviously, it's not Cleveland local music, but like
Yeah,
that
dude,
venue is just
that
so
venue's
cool.
the shit.
Yeah.
Matt actually lives directly behind that venue,
Okay.
and we're actually building a studio in his house
Very
right
cool.
now. That's where we're gonna record his record and probably
Okay.
record mine.
That's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be cool, man. That's gonna be really cool. Outside of music, though, bro, like, do you have any other hobbies or like anything else that you really love to do?
Man, I work in construction, and I think it's some of the most rewarding work that people can do. I'm a carpenter. I do like interior construction, so I do everything from framing, drywall, flooring, cabinetry, windows, doors, all that stuff, tile, and that stuff. There's a lot of similarities between that and building a song too, because just like you start with like the framework, and then you build up something that starts to look like a room, and you're like, okay, I can work with this. And then you're putting all the finishing touches, and it starts looking really good. You're like, this is sick. This is really cool. And it's like you have something to, like, again, walk away from and look back at.
Mm-hmm.
But the fun part about doing it is doing it. And it's another one of those things where the journey is like a really cool part of it. And it's very rewarding work. And then other than that, I just hang out with my cat and play a lot of video games.
I love it, man. No, I always like. I actually ran into this kid the other day at the YMCA, and he just struck up conversation over my tattoo, and so we just start talking. And he's an 18-year-old kid, and he's telling me what he does. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm just kind of working construction right now," and I could tell he was like down about it. But I told him, like, bro, you are learning some amazing skills right now that you are going to be able to use for the rest of your life. Like,
Oh, yeah.
just know that you are in the right spot in life right now. Because I always think about like what I'm doing right now. I'm like, damn, I kind of wish I got in to like carpentry and like learning how to do construction work. Because there's so much stuff around my house. I'm like, I want to change this. I want to change that. I want to do this differently. But I'm like, damn, I don't know how to do any of that right now.
Yeah, man. No, it's great. It's so fun. And like I've been like encouraging my mom to like what do you want to like, do with the house and stuff like that. Like I just like flipped a room in her house, tore up the carpet. There was a beautiful wood floor underneath it, and painted the whole room, got it all together, switched all the outlets out, and just made them all look nice. They were like outlets from like the 1960s. All the plugs were falling out of them and stuff like that. And it was just like, now it looks sick, and she just furnished it the other week, and it's just like, now it looks sweet, and it was just like super fun. I'm like, what else do you want to do, Mom? Let's get this together. And that's another part of the thing is I'm living out in Concord right now, watching my dad's condo, and I'm just kind of fixing up stuff for him too, and that's my rent.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
it's great.
that's it.
And it's just like, all right, what do you need done? It'll just like give me like a punch list of stuff that needs done around the place, and it's just like, all right, do this stuff anyways. And you also get to like see some really cool places when you work in construction. Like I've worked in some mansions doing like crazy trim work and cabinetry and stuff like that. And I've also worked in some shitholes, but like you get to go in some places that you never thought you'd go before, and it's just like, this is really cool.
Yeah. I'm sure it's the same thing with music too. Like you go to a venue and you're like, bro, there's a fucking shit in the urinal right now. Like I gotta get out of here.
Dude. there's this fucking tour I was on, and I had to take a shit so bad. And like when you're on tour, like the venue is home,
Mm-hmm.
like that's like you have a green room, that's your place to like not be in a car seat, and like you have to like absolutely use the facilities there. And the facilities there was, you walk in the back door, and there was like an area where you could put your gear, and then in front of you was a door to get into the bar, and to the right of you was a hallway. And they said the bathroom's down the hallway. So I'm walking down the hallway, And I look to my left, and there's just like a cutout like this, like just like a cutout room, but like no door or anything like that. And it's just a toilet.
No way.
And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. And I ran it. I absolutely ran it. But I was like so anxious and so
Dude.
scared. Someone was about to barrel down that hallway to like change a keg or something.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I'm just like, I might as well just be like taking a shit in the bar right now. Like, this is awful. But yeah,
Oh
you
my
definitely
God.
experience stuff like that. But also, like, took a shower at the House of Blues one time. That was cool.
That's pretty cool. No, I feel like, yeah, for every bad moment, there's a good moment too to counteract it. What was your best experience playing music?
My best experience playing music was I got the opportunity. Actually, this is, I guess, like, that's tough. Touring is awesome.
Mm.
Being able to see the country and play music for other people is really cool. I did a long stretch of dates in Colorado 2 summers ago, and got to spend a week in Denver just playing music and stuff like that, playing in Colorado Springs, and got to meet a lot of really cool people, and that was really rewarding. Touring is fantastic, but I'm there's an old recording studio out our way in Chardon, Painesville area called Suma Recording Studio,
Mm.
and the James Gang used to practice there. If you know, that's like Joe Walsh's band. They're a legendary Cleveland band, and Joe Walsh went on to play with the Eagles. And the studio owner, Paul Hammond, died, and the people that the band I was recording with was recording at their studio with the engineer and the owner of that studio, which was called Somewhere Studios in Euclid, acquired the facility, and I actually got to record there in high school, which was really cool. So I had some experience there with when Paul was still alive and running the place, and I got to help with the reconstruction of the place, and I did a lot of work there. I built 2 booths, like a drum booth and a vocal booth there. I framed out a bunch of storage spaces in the basement and did some drywall down there. Been working on the living quarters there. There's gonna be like, it's like a whole like plot of land, and I'm really good friends with the groundskeeper there. We still talk on the phone all the time. Old guy named Steve. He actually used to tour with Hawkwind, played bass. Hawkwind was Lemmy's first band,
Oh, okay.
and he toured with them in the '90s. He was friends with a band called Gong, which is this crazy European psych band that's just like absolutely out there. I implore anyone to dive into them and listen to their catalog. The Radio Gnome trilogy, which is just not for the faint of heart, but very psychedelic. And yeah, being able to work there and get to know those people and be a part of rebuilding history, like a huge part of Cleveland recording history. Grand Funk Railroad recorded
Okay.
all of their shit there.
Very cool.
I actually got to on the latest Oregon Space Trail of Doom record, I got to play through the same bass rig that they recorded some of my favorite songs by them through, which was absolutely fantastic experience. And yeah, that was like one of the coolest things I got to do, and that also tied into construction as well. And just being able to like learn about sound design, like now I know how to build a booth, like that's completely like built for soundproofing and stuff like that. Like I have a lot of knowledge that I wouldn't get through rudimentary residential construction. I actually got to go build a recording studio.
That's pretty cool,
and
man.
learn about installing like crazy stuff like that. Framed out the big glass window for the control room. I framed that out for the install for the glass and all that stuff. Like really got to like a lot of creative freedom too with what I wanted to do there. And work with Michael Seifert is the owner, great guy. The studio manager at the time, he's no longer working with them, Teddy Eisenberg, who runs the Eisenberg Review, which is a great music blog. You should check them out.
Okay.
He's great. and Dave Shaw, one of the engineers there, who's a fantastic electrician and electrical engineer, doing a lot of the repairs on their gear, and Steve Taylor, groundskeeper, greatest old dude I've ever met, man. And yeah, that was like one of the coolest things I got to do through music, was that opportunity to work on that studio.
That's cool, man. You know, it's funny. I didn't like asking that question. I didn't expect that answer, but it's cool to hear like you got to build something like that and use skills from not you being a musician and like doing something else, but also like intertwining it. That's pretty cool, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Nick, man, anything else you got for the people, bro? Anything else you want to talk about? I appreciate you coming on today. It's always a pleasure to speak to an artist and really understand them and get their process down. I'm excited for your album that's coming out soon, bro. But yeah, tell the people where they can find you, any other bands you got going on, and so they can stay up to date on any drops.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram under Smoke Gnarborough, like Gnar, and then bro, like Marlboro. That's where I release a lot of stuff on my Instagram, just like exclusively onto my Instagram, just like little throwaway songs right now, just to keep people interested in things that I'm doing right now. But keep your eye out for a band that I'm going to be getting together called Home Opener. That has an Instagram page if you want to go follow it. It's just called Home Opener Music. And yeah, keep your eye out for Matt Sykon's album. Ohio Civil Power is a band I'm playing in. Don't think we're playing anytime soon, but we'll have a record in the works called Yankee Freak coming out soon. And yeah, keep just like check out the Cleveland music scene, man. There's a lot of really good stuff out there. Youth Palette, Son of Scott, Ratterall is fantastic.
Ratterall, I like that name, man. That's pretty cool.
Dude, Ratterall's sick if you haven't checked them out. They're like kind of like new wavy. They're very cool. But yeah, John's Little Sister, all of them. Check out anyone in the Cleveland music scene and you will not be disappointed.
Hell yeah, bro. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast. Love to see that you're doing well and making all this music, dude. Like, I'm excited to keep hearing what you got going on. I was just bumping It's Been a Long Time, actually, like a couple months ago. And I was like, oh, man, I fucking love this song. So yeah,
Sam Daly, that's another person. He's down in Nashville now, but Sam Daly and Zip Zap, Travis Palouche.
Zip Zap, I got a couple of their songs on a playlist. Yeah,
dude, Zip Zap's great. They're going to be coming to Cleveland on March 3rd. I'm not even in that band, but I'm going to promote them like unashamedly because everyone should go see them at the Beachland on March 3rd.
Hell yeah. All right, Nick, appreciate you, brother. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Peace.
Everybody wanna seem like they're living out the dream. It's always about the green, since we talking about the cream. Let me get behind it, please. You ain't gotta bend your knees, or break your back for the finer things.